In the year 177 AD, Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by absolute snakes. He was the most powerful man on earth, but his inner circle was completely toxic. He had senators who smiled right in his face and then plotted his murder the second he left the room. He had military advisors who fed him lies just to steal his power. He even had trusted generals who wanted him completely destroyed. Every single day was a psychological war zone, but he was never once broken by any of them, not because he was powerful. Power does not protect you from toxic people. History is buried with kings and queens who were completely destroyed by the whispers of the people closest to them. Marcus Aurelius survived because of something completely different. He used a specific set of psychological weapons. He wrote about them in a private diary that he never wanted the world to read. He practiced these hidden behaviors so quietly that the people trying to ruin him never even realized what was happening until their own traps snapped shut on them. I am going to walk you through every single one of those 8 behaviors. But before we get to the first one, you need to understand a dark truth about every toxic person in your life. Because until you see this invisible dynamic clearly, nothing else I say will matter. Toxic people do not actually possess any real power over you. What they have is access. Access to your reactions, access to your insecurities, access to the part of you that still needs to be understood, approved of, or defended. That is the only weapon they have ever had. And every single time you nervously explain yourself to them or lose sleep, replaying their insulting comments, you are personally handing them a loaded gun and begging them to pull the trigger. Marcus Aurelius had a specific name for protecting this access. He called it the inner citadel. He realized that inside your mind there is a massive fortress. That fortress cannot be broken into by force. It can only be unlocked from the inside and surrendered. And most people surrender their peace every single day without even realizing it. They give up the keys one emotional reaction at a time. These 8 behaviors are how you stop surrendering it. They are not loud. They are not confrontational. That is exactly what makes them so effective. And pay attention as the list builds, because the first few behaviors will feel manageable. But by the time you reach behavior 6 and 7, you will understand why Marcus Aurelius was completely untouchable. And the final behavior is the one that does not just protect you. It makes toxic people quietly decide you are the one person on earth they never want to mess with again. 1. Stop explaining yourself. This is where the defense begins, and it is much harder than you think, because your brain does it on autopilot. Every time a toxic person questions your life choices or insults your character, your nervous system panics. You immediately start explaining your side of the story. You justify your actions. You add a ton of backstory that nobody even asked for. You do this because deep down you hold on to a false hope. You think if you just explain your feelings clearly enough, they will finally understand you and treat you with respect. They will absolutely never do that, because understanding your feelings was never their goal. Their goal was to force you to perform for them. The ancient philosopher Epictetus said that if someone succeeds in making you angry, your own mind is an accomplice in the crime. Compulsive explaining is how you become an accomplice. When you explain too much, you are sending them a very clear signal. You are telling them that their negative opinion is more valuable than your peace of mind. The exact second a manipulator smells that desperation, they will create endless drama just to watch you dance for their approval. The fix is brutal but simple. Give them one calm sentence. Do not attach any justification. Do not offer any nervous laughter, just a hard full stop. Watch the total panic in their eyes when they expect a massive performance, and you give them absolute silence instead. 2. Never react in real time. Toxic people are absolute masters of timing. They will purposely provoke you in a crowded room. They will wait until you are exhausted from a long day. They will strike when your emotions are completely exposed and the stakes are incredibly high. This is never an accident. A raw emotional reaction always reveals your weak spots, and a manipulator collects your weak spots for a living. Seneca was another brilliant mind from that era. He said the ultimate cure for anger is a delay. He did not say you should bury your feelings. He did not say you should explode. He told you to force a massive delay. 2 seconds, 5 seconds, sometimes a full 24 hours, looking a toxic person in the eyes and saying you will think about it and get back to them is the most disorienting weapon you can use. It completely shatters their game. It tells them their fake urgency means nothing to you. It tells them you do not owe them an emotional explosion on command. That short pause is not a sign of weakness. That pause is the exact moment you steal all the power back. You choose a calculated response instead of feeding them a wild reaction. One belongs to you and the other belongs to them. And once you blend this pause with the fourth behavior, something very dark shifts in how toxic people look at you. Keep watching because it connects perfectly. 3. Keep the same energy. This behavior is quiet, but it will save your life. Toxic people cannot control their own emotions, so they use you to regulate their own sickness. They walk into a room completely aggressive, hoping to make you defensive. They give you the cold shoulder, hoping to make you act desperate. They bring a tornado of chaos and try to drag you right into the center of the storm. They want your emotional state to mirror theirs. Once they establish that sick connection, they own you. They know exactly which buttons to push to raise or lower your temperature. Marcus Aurelius survived his enemies by refusing to play this mirroring game. He wrote that you have total authority over your mind regardless of what outside chaos is happening. Consistent energy is the ultimate shield against a manipulator. You do not act like a robot. You stay grounded like a massive oak tree. When they arrive screaming, you speak in a totally normal volume. When they act cold and distant, you remain polite but completely unbothered. When they bring massive theatrical drama, you only talk about plain, boring facts. Your mood is not a thermostat. They are allowed to touch. The very second a toxic person realizes they cannot infect you with their poison, they lose the best tool they have. They will panic and look for an easier target. 4. Watch more than you speak. Most humans talk way too much when they feel threatened. They hate awkward silence. They volunteer deep personal secrets that nobody asked to hear. They act overly friendly because smiling feels a lot safer than standing still. And every single word that falls out of your mouth is another piece of ammunition the toxic person picks up and saves for later. Epictetus said it is much better to stay quiet and let people think you are stupid than to open your mouth and prove it. But in the presence of a predator, silence is actually a military strategy. Silence makes you totally unreadable, and an unreadable human being is incredibly dangerous to a manipulator. Toxic people are terrified of someone they cannot predict. Start asking them questions instead of answering theirs. Let them talk for hours, because everything a toxic person says is just a confession of who they really are and what they secretly want. You sit back and learn their entire playbook. They learn absolutely nothing about you. That is a massive tactical advantage, but observing them is only half the battle. What you do with those observations is where the fifth behavior changes the entire game. 5. Never reveal your ammunition. Toxic people are obsessive collectors. They collect your hidden fears. They collect your physical insecurities. They memorize your unhealed childhood wounds and your desperate need for love. They do not care about your feelings at all. They just know that your pain is the ultimate leverage, and leverage is the only currency these people respect. You have definitely experienced this nightmare before. You trusted the wrong person and shared a deep secret during a vulnerable moment. And 3 weeks later, that exact secret was used to stab you in the back. They made a subtle joke about it at a party. They dropped a hint just loud enough for your friends to hear. Cato the Younger was a legendary leader who was totally immune to this trap. He was impossible to manipulate because he had already faced his own demons. He analyzed his own flaws so deeply that there was absolutely nothing left for his enemies to use against him. He made peace with his own darkness, and a weakness that you already accept cannot be weaponized by a coward. Being a warm and friendly person is fine, but giving deep access to people who have not earned your trust is a death sentence. Not everyone who smiles at you deserves to know your trauma. Keep your inner life locked away. That quiet boundary destroys their entire strategy before they can even launch an attack. 6. Remove the audience. Almost all toxic behavior is just a cheap theatrical performance. It desperately requires an audience to work. The loud public insult at dinner, the dramatic crying fit in the office, the passive-aggressive joke made in front of your family. None of those tactics work in an empty room. The audience is never an accident. The audience is the entire point of the attack. Once you fully understand the theatrical nature of toxicity, you instantly gain the upper hand. Stop being a supporting actor in their terrible play. When a conflict starts getting loud, you must immediately move it to a private location. Look them dead in the eyes and say you will only continue the discussion behind closed doors. This is the most terrifying thing you can say to someone who brought a script to a public stage. In front of a crowd, they feel like a god. In a quiet room with just you staring back at them, the entire dynamic collapses. Most manipulators will run away from a private conversation because without their audience, they are completely powerless. Marcus Aurelius spent decades watching corrupt politicians run these exact plays in front of the Roman crowds. He trained himself to completely ignore the grand speeches and look straight at the dirty motives hiding underneath. Take away their stage, and the ugly truth bleeds out for everyone to see. And this brings us to the seventh behavior. This is where everything you have learned becomes permanent. You cannot skip this step. 7. Let consequences do the talking. This is the exact spot where most good people fail completely. They hold their ground for a few weeks. They stay quiet. They do not react to the bait. But then their ego takes over. They get impatient. They desperately want the toxic person to admit defeat. They want an apology. They want some grand cinematic justice. So they open their mouths and start arguing. And in 5 minutes they surrender all the power they spent a month building. The ancient version of justice does not involve a loud argument. True justice is a consequence that is applied quietly and brutally over a long period of time. You simply become less available. You do not write a long dramatic speech about it. You just stop answering the phone. The flow of information gets cut off entirely. You stop inviting them to events that matter to your life. You do not announce this as a grand punishment. It just becomes a cold, hard fact of reality. Their terrible behavior has disqualified them from sitting at your table. Epictetus laid out the perfect rule for this situation. He said, if someone wrongs you, do not scream it to the entire city. Handle it silently between the two of you. You handle it. You do not perform it. You enforce your boundaries through your daily actions without a single drop of drama. A toxic person can twist your words forever, but they cannot argue with a locked door. 8. Absolute indifference to their opinion. This is the final wall. This is the behavior that makes you untouchable for the rest of your life. When every single trick fails, a manipulator will pull out their absolute last weapon. They will try to destroy your public reputation. They will tell everyone your silence is actually guilt. They will say your quiet confidence is just pure arrogance. They will build a totally fake monster version of you and parade it around to anyone who will listen. And if you care even a little bit about those lies, you are still trapped in their game. Marcus Aurelius wrote something so profoundly deep in his diary that it should freeze you in your tracks. He asked himself why a man loves himself more than anyone else but still values the opinions of strangers over his own opinion of himself. He wrote that reminder while he commanded the greatest empire in human history. Even a king had to fight the urge to care about rumors. Real indifference is not acting cocky. Cocky people actually care deeply about what you think, and they just put on a fake mask to hide it. True indifference is completely silent. It comes from doing so much brutal internal work that your identity is completely bulletproof. You do not need your friends to validate you. You do not need your family to clap for you. And you certainly do not need a toxic parasite to tell you that you are a good person. Let us bring this all the way back to the beginning. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by assassins and liars, but he never lost his mind. He did not survive because he wore a crown or commanded an army. He survived because he built a version of his own mind that toxic people could not penetrate. He layered these 8 behaviors over his life until he was completely smooth. No insult could catch a grip. No rumor could pierce the armor. No theatrical performance could pull a reaction out of him. And when a manipulator realizes they cannot extract a single drop of emotion from you, they will pack up their bags and run away. They do not leave because you fought them and won. They leave because you became a brick wall and gave them absolutely nothing to feed on. That is the ultimate secret buried inside that ancient diary. It was never a book about fighting your enemies. It was a manual on how to become totally unreachable. As Epictetus said so perfectly all those years ago, no man is truly free unless he is the absolute master of his own mind. You just learned the 8 steps to build that exact mastery. Now it is time to look at the people in your life and start locking the doors. If you are actually ready to cut the toxic dead weight out of your life, hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel so you never forget how to protect your peace. And to prove you are serious, go down to the comments and type the word unreachable. Make that your permanent declaration that the games are officially over.